Hi, welcome back to the shed for episode 10 of the Stratocaster build, where we're going to continue with our attempts to repair this fretboard. Okay, I've left this in clamps for a few hours. I've not left it overnight because I want to get the clamps off and just have a go at making sure there isn't any glue stuck in the corners of the fret slots. Now, one thing that does occur to me is that the actual portion of the fretboard that is slotted now is quite a lot smaller than it was, and that kind of worries me a little bit, that there might not be enough tang from the fret to hold the fret securely. But we'll see what it looks like when we get it all kind of trimmed down and flushed off. I don't really want to have too much fret without tang, because the potential for that to kind of lift and cause problems is quite high, I would imagine. So it might be the case that once we've got this all flushed down and the radius re-established, that I actually cut these fret slots back in, which will mean, of course, that we won't have the bound effect of the fretboard, but we'll have a fretboard that fits. So and there's the fretboard with those strips stuck on, and they are lighter, so I don't really know what this is going to look like once we get the planing work done, which is the next step. But I don't think that's something I'm going to approach right now anyway. I am going to kind of spend a bit of time making sure that these corners are nice and clean in case I do go with the fretboard as it is. But I'm not going to start planing on this just yet because the glue isn't fully dry by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to leave this overnight now, and we'll pick up again with it in the morning. Okay, and there is the fretboard with those two additional strips put on, and I've had a quick go at staining them a little bit closer to the colour of the fretboard, and I actually think it looks really good. It's gone on nicely. I think with another coat of stain on, it will come down nearer to the colour. So from that perspective, I think that could be called a success. However, I have my doubts. For me, a Stratocaster is something of a utilitarian beast, and I think this just isn't giving out Strat vibes anymore for me. So I'm not going to use it. That can get chucked. And to be honest, I've had my doubts about it for a while, so I managed to dig out a piece of Wenge and I've made a replacement board, which is a lot more in keeping with what I think this guitar should look like. So I'm going to go with this one. Feel free to fight me in the comments, but that is the decision I have made. I'm not really going to throw it away. I'll use it on another build. And I've basically got us exactly the same position we were in with the old fretboard, except this one's been done right. And we're about ready to glue this onto the neck. However, there is one last little job we need to do, because we need to put a little notch in the end here to allow for the adjuster wheel. So we've got a little bit of access to it. And to that end, I've made a little bit of a template. So I'm going to, in the first instance, I'm going to kind of line that up where it needs to be. Kind of roughly mark that out. I'll take it to the bandsaw off camera and I'll just nip out that, keeping well away from the lines, and we can mount this in exactly the position we want it. And then just clean that up with the trim router. And that's that little cutout created. It looks a bit skewy because I've still got to trim this to length and it's a little bit uneven. If you compare the cutout to the fret slot, it all looks very parallel. So very happy with that. That's gone really well. So the only real thing we need to do now is to get this prepped up and get the fretboard glued on. And this is going to be a pretty bog standard glue up job. Just going to start by masking off the truss rod. Just so we don't fill that full of glue. We'll just get some tight bond on the job. And we'll just get those pins in position ready. Forget to take off the masking tape. Stick it in position. And then we just need to kind of snip that off flush. Just make sure it's not sticking up, so it doesn't hold the clamping caul off, and we can get that clamped up. Okay, so that's all clamped down now. All looks to have gone down very nice and evenly. I've tried to get as much of the squeeze out as I can off. So just a case now of leaving that for a few hours for the glue to dry. So there's the neck glued on. There's a little bit of glue's got onto that corner there, but that's probably going to get trimmed off to a certain extent, so not bothered about that. However, there's a bit of squeeze out come through into that adjuster, so I'm just going to get a little screwdriver, take that out, just give that a clean up. And that done, actually all looks very nice. So I'm just going to bang this into the vise, put all the clamps away, break out a spoke shave and just get this trimmed down flush with the maple. So that's the fretboard on and all trimmed down, and that's all gone very nicely. It's a bit of a job to get it trimmed around this heel section, but we are there now, so that's great. So there are quite a few steps left to making this neck, some of them big and some of them kind of not quite so big. The next one I want to address is to get the position markers sorted out for the top of the neck, and to do that I've just simply got some white plastic rod, which is 2mm. So it's just a case of marking out and drilling holes in the appropriate places along the top of the neck drilling a hole in that position, inserting the rod with a bit of super glue, cutting it off, flushing it down. Bob's your Auntie Gladys's living lover. And to aid me in that, I've got a nice little jig that I've used several times before on the channel, and it's simply a couple of 2mm holes drilled in a piece of angled aluminium. For virtually all of them, you use the single hole, which is located on a notch which you align with your center line, and for the 12th position you align a second notch on the center line and drill 2 holes. So very straightforward, but the first thing I need to do is just get my eyes on, because it is quite close in, delicate work, and I need to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to mark with a bit of white where each of these position markers needs to go, so we don't have any accidents. And then I'll just start by measuring the distance between the frets at each of the positions that needs a marker, putting a mark in the middle of there, and then squaring that across. And that's those dots all put in position now. Quite a straightforward job, probably takes about 10-15 minutes at max. So I'm just going to drop that back into the vise, and we'll just break out a file and level those out with the edge of the fretboard. And there they are all done, and thankfully all in the right positions and looking very nice. So that's some major progress on this neck, and admittedly it hasn't gone to plan, but we have got where we needed to be in the end, so very happy with that. I think next up for this is we need to address the headstock. So we need to get the tuner holes drilled, we need to get the headstock thickness down and the transition done onto the fretboard. However, that's all way more work than we can cover in this episode. So I'll be back in a couple of days' time when we can look at that. Until then, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Tell me what you think about the change of fretboard, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.